Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve? I'm seeing some sun in the background here, but I'm sort of rugging up. Is this climate change or something? I don't know. Who knows what's going on?
Enjoying a lovely summer's day here, so all good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to turn to the topic smartphones. We've covered this obviously before, but we're going to take a couple of different angles with this, particularly around we'll start with some of the myths around smartphones. And there was a great article in the ABC which covered a couple of these, which, I think these are general questions and people don't really know why things are asked of in certain ways. Like, so for instance, why do airlines insist that you switch flight mode on when you get onto a flight when there's, it's not the chances of something actually happening with your smartphone and affecting aircraft systems is virtually nil. Because I guess the airline industry is so risk adverse, they, from a safety perspective, virtually nil is still not nil. So they're going to always take the nil option, and if it just means inconveniencing some people or the customers, so be it. Do you think that's a fair assessment of that? Because I'll admit, by accident, of course, one or two times I've left it on the whole time, and the plane didn't crash.
No, and it's amazing how well you can get reception when you're over metro areas and you're right over the top of the towers.
Yeah,
I certainly probably have left my phone on a lot. The only reason I'd ever turn it off on a plane is just to conserve battery. But yeah. I've never been worried about any risk. Probably most people who know or have seen any of the Mythbusters or any of the other people online have done various tests to show that mobile phones don't pose a risk on flights. Would know that. I've always been a big fan of the conspiracy theory that the airlines just didn't want to have us yakking on phones as we flew around.
Well, that might certainly be the case for Chinese airlines, because you can't actually use the phone at all on a Chinese flight. So, and there's actually no technical reason for it. So you have to wonder what's going on there. But it is an interesting thing. And but the reality is that they're introducing technology into flights now that more and more airlines will adopt eventually, which is they'll put their own ability to connect to 4G signals or whatever, so you can make calls and networks and things like that, which is already apparently available on certain airlines.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. I mean, the other reason that I heard, and once again, I don't know if this is true, is that if you had 300 people in a plane, or I don't know, 200 people in a plane, and you're moving from cell to cell, if they're all on their phones, the switching cell by cell would actually disrupt ground traffic. So I don't know if that's true either.
Sounds reasonable.
They're just conspiracy theories. Maybe there was never any good reason. Maybe, like we've said, it was just that small element of risk.
Yeah, absolutely. What about that old myth theory, whatever it is, about holding your phone on a call next to your head, and if you do it for too long, it eventually causes brain cancer. There's always a lot of studies and whatnot, but there's no established evidence that it does anything.
Well, I don't know. The original phones, which were very high wattage, there was allegedly some evidence that maybe people who spent hours a day on those phones did develop tumours. But modern phones, the wattage is very small. Yeah. And if you want to really protect yourself, just use speakerphone. Because
or a headset.
The amount of radiation you get decreases exponentially the further away you move it from your skin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually just find that better anyway, because if you're on a mobile phone for a long call, it'll usually get hot anyway, and it's uncomfortable. And I'm sort of a convert to the Bluetooth earpieces and things like that. I've got a couple of those now, and it's actually quite liberating to just walk around with an earpiece that's quite subtle and unobtrusive, and your phone's on the table, and it doesn't sort of interfere with the call or anything. So
you don't mind looking like a nutcase talking to yourself? Or?
Oh, I think we all do now. Everyone ignores it. Everyone, just on another one. What about this thing? There's always this thing around. You don't use a mobile phone near a petrol bowser. Where do you think that comes from? And is there any justification for that? Do you think?
Well, in the old days when phones used to be, once again, high-powered and they used to have a little antenna stalk, there was always a minuscule chance that you could get a spark. And if you got a spark around vapor, you could have a fire. However, I think that, once again, probably was one of those really, really small, risks. I once, unfortunately or fortunately, walked out of the back door of an aeroplane onto the tarmac with the engine still on to see a guy light up a cigarette to the horror of the ground staff. I'm still here. Yep. How much risk was there? I don't know. If that wasn't going to this is while they were refueling too, by the way. If that wasn't going to kill us all, I don't think using a mobile phone is going to kill us all. Although,
and I guess, and linking back to our, connection with flights, that's another example of they insist that you don't use them when you're, especially if you're walking onto the tarmac and up the escalator and all that sort of thing. And it's sort of probably fits in with that flight mode thing, that it's like virtually nil, but that's not good enough for them. They want absolute certainty that nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I have to say, the guy lighting up a cigarette while they were refueling, that certainly frightened the ground staff. It got me a little bit excited too. But like I say, we're here, so I reckon that must be a pretty minimal risk as well, but not one I want to see actually happen.
Or repeated anymore. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll just segue into a broader topic, which is, can the smartphones that we have today get any smarter? So I would think that answer is yes. And if you think about what's happened in the last 10 years, the smartphone has exponentially gotten smarter at what it does, and its functionality has increased, a huge amount. And again, from the ABC, there was a good. They started this article quoting Tesla, who was predicting a device in 1926 was predicting a device that would allow us to communicate instantly over any distance, seeing and hearing one another as though face to face. We shall be able to witness and hear events, the inauguration of a president, the playing of a World Series game, the havoc of an earthquake, or the terror of a battle, just as though we were present. And he would say that the device would be small enough to fit in one's vest pocket. And although we don't have vests as much anymore in fashion, that pretty much is what a smartphone today is and what it does for us. But if you were to sort of project out, I don't know if the form factor is going to change in the next 10 years, but it's just more because there's something about how they've settled on the type of form factor that a smartphone has now that works really, really well, and eventually it will be replaced. But for, say, the next 10 years, it'll still be here, albeit with a lot more capability. So I'm actually thinking that, with advances in VR and AR and all of that stuff, particularly AR, that it's going to start becoming more of a window into a different world, as opposed to just playing videos and checking your email.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're spot on there. I don't know if you've seen it, there's a new ad for the iPad. You've got the kid in the backyard, I don't know, doing something on the iPad, looking at insects or something like that. And the neighbour says, "Oh, what are you doing on your computer?" And the kid says, "What's a computer?"
Yep.
I think that's probably the way the phone will go as well. It's so much more already than a phone. And I think, to be my I guess, perspective is Tesla was probably thinking more radio than cellular communication.
But it is a remarkable description of what a smartphone is, though, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, effectively, they're the same sort of technology.
Yeah.
But like that. What will a phone be? We choose not to talk more often than we choose to talk on a phone. We'd rather text, we'd rather message through a message app, we'd rather search, browse, whatever it is we're doing, watch, consume, whatever those things are. And I think that's the big area where the next iteration of what a phone, computer, whatever it is because a phone is basically a computer today. It's called a phone. And an iPad or a tablet is basically a computer today, but it's a tablet.
Yeah.
We've seen terms change. I think you're right. I think it'll be the form factor, and it'll be someone who comes up with a new form factor to take advantage of AR, to take advantage of immersive or richer experiences delivered to them. So I think, I don't know if Google Glass will ever make a comeback properly. But maybe it'll be a device like that, or maybe it'll be just an earpiece, or maybe it'll be a watch. Who knows what the next iteration of the phone will be? But the thing that'll be smarter than a smartphone, like all of evolution, it won't be a phone anymore. Yeah, not as we know anyway.
Well, what about I guess just finally this idea that maybe all of these peripheral devices that we're getting now, we joke about the internet fridge, Google Glass, the smart light bulb, whatever it is. What happens if all of these devices become so smart that there isn't actually a need for a centralized device like a smartphone? So basically you end up just walking through anything and you will be in the vicinity of any device that will be able to do what you need it to do at that given point.
Well, I think if you join the dots, that's what the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence will provide us.
Yep.
Whatever environment you will be in, you will be communicating without needing a device.
Yeah.
Probably because your behaviours will be so well known and learnt by machines that they'll know what you want when you walk into a room.
Yeah.
And, they'll know whenever you'll have some sort of identification, whether it's a tag, whether it is a device on your wrist like a watch, any of those things, you'll wander around, everyone will know where you are, or at least the machines will know where you are, and they'll respond accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. It's an interesting topic, and I mean, for the time being, we'll have to, have the latest iteration of whatever Samsung or iPhone comes out. But all of this will be interesting over the next few decades.
Certainly will.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so don't forget our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links and content there, and you can subscribe to all of our channels, YouTube, Vimeo, etc. And we hope you enjoy all the content we've got on offer on the website. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.